everyone, I'm James and welcome to At America TV. For any first timers here, hi and welcome to At America TV for the first time. At America is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Usually here in Indonesia, Eid holiday is always associated with family vacations. But because of the pandemic, many people are staying at home. Don't worry though, we're going to invite you to travel the world with us. In this series, my friends and I will take you on some exciting journeys, so get your snacks, sit tight, and enjoy the experience.
Hello, my name is Eric Hansen. I'm a filmmaker and educator based in Los Angeles, California. In 2018, I was a visitor to Indonesia as part of the American Film Showcase. And I understand Ramadan is a time of thanks, and I would like to extend my thanks to all the wonderful Indonesians that hosted me so graciously on my visit. And as a token of that, I would like to share with you some of the virtual reality and photography that I've done in your country. So again, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Maya.
And today, we're going to take you on a very exciting adventures!
Hey Jasmine, there's a virus outbreak all over the world right now. Do you think it is safe enough for us to travel?
Don't worry, Maya, because we're going to travel virtually using this very cool virtual reality game I have right here. It is called Blue Planet, and we can download it via Steam. Pretty cool, huh?
You mean I can have the experience of visiting awesome places around the world without requiring me to leave my couch? Blue Planet really comes in handy for times like this. Let's start this game already. Where are we gonna go first?
Okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to travel around the world using this game. So first, we're going to take a step back into a living, breathing, lost world. Today, we're going to take a look at the ancestral Puebloans, a prehistoric civilization of the American Southwest.
About 800 years ago, the ancestors of today's Puebloan people lived in stone dwellings, grew crops, and recorded their lives as art on the cliff walls around them. They were at their height between the years 900 to 1350 AD. This is when many of their biggest and most famous sites were constructed.
Wow, they used to actually live here?
Yes, they are known as basket makers for their skill at the craft.
Formerly nomadic, they were beginning to lead a more settled way of life. Farming replaced hunting and gathering as their main livelihood. They lived in pit houses clustered into small villages, usually built on cliff tops but sometimes into cliff recesses. They learned to make pottery and acquired the bow and arrow, a more efficient weapon for hunting than the atlaw, a spear thrower. But towards the end of the 13th century, some cataclysmic event forced the Anasazi to flee those cliff houses and their homeland and move south and east towards the Rio Grande and the Little Colorado River. Just what happened has been one of the greatest puzzles facing archaeologists who study ancient cultures. Perhaps climate change made growing crops more difficult, or their resources ran thin.
I wonder how the archaeologist discovers these dwellings.
Ever since local cowboys first reported the cliff dwellings in the 1880s, archaeologists have sought to understand these people's lives. But despite decades of excavation, analysis, classification, and comparison, scientific knowledge remains sketchy. We'll never know the whole story. They left no written records, and much that was important in their lives has perished. Yet, for all this silence, their structures speak with a certain eloquence. They tell of a people adept at building, artistic in their crafts, and skillful at making a living from a difficult land. The structures are evidence of a society that, over centuries, accumulated skills and traditions, and passed them on from generation to generation. By the classical period, ancestral Puebloans were heirs of a vigorous civilization whose accomplishments in community living and the arts rank among the finest expressions of human culture in North America.
Is it just this one, or are there any other similar places like this around the US?
I'm glad you asked. There are plenty of other places that ancient Puebloan people used to live in. Let's take a look at some of the other ones.
Whoa, look at that beautiful view! Can you imagine if we could travel the Canyonlands way back then? What might we see?
I know, right? Well, for starters, structures like this would be brand new.
This is where ancestral Puebloans stored their grain, so we call them the granaries. Imagine it full of corn, beans, and squash grown in gardens down by the river, plus gathered food like Indian rice grass. Of course, the people who farmed here lived here too. Their home might have been dry-laid stone walls built into a natural alcove in the cliff, or maybe even an elaborate multi-room village. In either case, it would be a bustling, lively place, with barking dogs and gobbling turkeys, where a mother grinds corn and children listen to grandpa's stories right there, while waiting for their father to bring home rabbits for dinner. Now can you imagine their lives here? It was tough, but it was home.
It is hard to imagine elders and small children going back and forth along such dangerous passage.
Yet the ancients must have done just that. For the Anasazi who lived above that void, each foray for food and water must have been a perilous mission.
Researchers believe the Anasazi clambered up felled tree trunks that were notched by stone axes to form minuscule footholds. These log ladders were often propped on ledges hundreds of feet off the ground. Some of the ladders are still in place, but they would not have been adequate to reach several of the dwellings we explored. I believe that the archaeologists, who are usually not rock climbers, have underestimated the skill and courage it took to live among the cliffs. Despite the fear that apparently overshadowed their existence, these Lost Canyon inhabitants had taken the time to make their home beautiful. The outer walls of the dwellings were plastered with a smooth coat of mud, and the upper facades painted creamy white. Faint lines and hatching patterns were incised into the plaster, creating two-tone designs. The stone overhang had sheltered the structures so well that they looked as though they had been abandoned only within the past decade, not 700 years ago.
There's one more ancient Puebloan ruin that I would like to show you, Maya.
Bring it on, Jasmine! Look at that! The topography is spectacular! Flat-top cliffs with deep, steep ravines and human settlements were built not only on top of the cliff but also along the cliff. I wonder how they built this whole thing.
The ancestral Puebloans built these extraordinary structures, full-scale cities using natural sandstone which was supported by wooden beams and mortar. They built imposing stone-walled settlements and forts. These sites are marvels of Neolithic engineering, towering red masonry and austere windswept landscapes like something straight out of Middle-earth, set in the backdrop of epic desert vistas. The ancestral Puebloans are made famous by the ruins they left behind. Each family occupied several rooms and built additional rooms as the family grew. Several related families constituted a clan, which was probably matrilineal, tracing descent through the female line. Each clan would have had its own kiva and rights to its own agricultural plots. Fires built in summer were mainly for cooking. In winter, when the alcove rooms were damp and uncomfortable, fires probably burned throughout the village. Smoke, blackened walls, and ceilings are reminders of the biting cold these people lived with for several months each year. Ancestral Puebloans spent much of their time getting food, even in the best years. They were farmers, but they supplemented their crops of beans, corn, and squash by gathering wild plants and hunting deer, rabbits, squirrels, and other game. The soil on the mesa top was fertile, and except in drought, was as well watered as now. The vegetation is also about the same then as it is today, but with less pinon and juniper. Then, the ancestral Puebloans cut pinon and juniper for building materials and firewood, and to clear land for farming.
Actually, I was wondering, if I ever get the chance to visit these ruins, do I get to touch the artifacts?
I don't think you're allowed to do that. These canyon lands preserve a rich cultural heritage, but it's up to us to help protect them.
Be polite when you visit ancient homes and follow these simple rules. First, don't climb on or walk through structures. You don't want to be the person to collapse a wall which has stood for centuries. Second, don't touch or take rubbings of rock art because oil in human skin can damage the pigment and the pressure from the rubbing destroys its fine details. And last but not least, leave artifacts where you find them. The position and location of arrowheads, pottery, and other artifacts provides important information to archaeologists. If you see something you think is significant, leave it where it is and report it to the park ranger.
Our help, these ancient sites will continue to tell their stories for centuries to come.
Those are great tips. I will keep that on my note. But hey, did you know that other than ancient ruins, the USA is also famous for their canyons? Let me take you to one of them with Blue Planet.
Can you figure out where my friends and I will take you for the next episode? Let me give you a little hint. It is a gigantic river valley and one of the largest canyons in the world. Comment down below if you can guess where we are going. Follow our social media accounts at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at @ATAmerica so you don't miss out. Alright folks, I will see you on the next adventure.